Great, you've made it to the final lesson of our 12-part series. Today's lesson, today's core lesson may be a little different than the others because it seems to be somewhat of a newer concept compared to the others. So let's get into what I'm talking about. Today's lesson is specifically on personal branding, not branding per se, but personal branding. Our quote for the day goes like this: if you're not branding yourself, you can be sure others will do it for you. So it's a bit of a warning. It means if you're not taking control of your perception, how other people view you, then they're going to take control of it instead of you. So wouldn't you want to keep that power over your perception, your reputation, in effect? So what are we going to talk about in this last core lesson? Well, we'll go over, of course, as usual, the introduction and mystery question first. Then we'll talk about why or what personal branding is, why do it, and who should do personal branding specifically. Then we'll look at considering your ambitions to work on that personal brand. We'll look at how to craft a brand statement, and we'll go into what you should do in order to broadcast your personal brand. And then finally, of course, we'll wrap things up with mystery question answered. Okay, let's get into it. First, not personal branding, but more specifically, branding. What is that? You've heard of it before, but let's define it. Branding is the marketing practice of creating a name, symbol, or design that identifies and differentiates a product from other products. So what companies come to mind when you think of good branding? Here are two that are the best of the best at it. Number one, of course, Apple computers and Apple products. And two, swoosh, that's Nike. These two symbols are instantly recognizable around the world. The reason isn't because they have the best products. The reason is because these companies are masters of branding, and their approach to branding is a different approach to marketing. They don't focus on telling the world who they are and what they do. Instead, they focus on telling the world what they believe. Now keep that in mind. These companies show that they stand for an idea, and their competitors typically don't, and thus always find themselves focusing on how to beat Apple or how to beat Nike instead of focusing on themselves. Regarding branding, I want to focus instead of on a company, on an individual who is the world's best brander, arguably. So who is one of the best personal branders of all time? He himself is better known more than his over 400 companies that he owns. He's built a name, and he has built a name that has more value to it than those companies combined as well. And here are a few details. Number one, he's not from a wealthy family. He performed badly in school. He dropped out of school at the age of 18. But he's adventurous, highly resourceful, and understands the importance of branding. His airlines started when he was stuck in Puerto Rico trying to get to the British Virgin Islands. There weren't enough people to book for the flight, so the airline canceled the flight. He called a private charter company and, almost as a joke, went around the airport with a sign saying $39 one way to British Virgin Islands. All the passengers who were waiting to get there took up his offer, and the plane was full. That was the birth of his airline company. He is also known to encourage entrepreneurs and youngsters. He's involved in a variety of startup events and also funds many of them. He's widely known as a mentor, philanthropist, and champion of the youth. And we can see him quoting this: too many companies want their brands to reflect some idealized, perfected image of themselves. As a consequence, their brands acquire no texture, no character, and no public trust. Something that he has done the opposite. So, can you guess who this personal brander extraordinaire is? So to recap this initial section of our core lesson on personal branding, we looked quickly at what is branding, the marketing idea, corporate idea of branding. what is or who is one of the best personal branders in the world. And my question to you is, can you guess who he is? So good luck on that guess, and let's get ready for the next course section. What is personal branding? Why should you do personal branding? And what are the best candidates? What are the best type of people who should do personal branding? See you soon. Great. So now you understand what branding is, but what is personal branding? Let's go over what it is, why do it, and who should have a personal brand. Well, different than branding itself as far as the corporate business term is, we have a new term called personal branding. And this is your ability to recognize, own, and promote your persona. It's the unique combination of your skills, experience, and personality that you want the world to see. Think of it as the management of your reputation. Personal branding is smart because it helps make you more visible. You want to be seen in a crowded world. It makes you look more professional. Now that you're visible, you want to look good too. It establishes credibility and trust, and you need these things for people to give you opportunities. It helps you find a job, and maybe you're going to graduate university fairly soon. Maybe you already have a job and you're looking for another job. It strengthens job security. Once you find a job, you want to hold on to it as long as possible, or at least as long as you want to keep that job. So personal branding has a lot of benefits. And here's a really good quote that lends a lot of truth. People give opportunities to those who they know, like, and trust. And a personal brand, at least managing that personal brand well, building that personal brand well, will help you with these things. It will get people not only to know you, but to also like you and trust you. So who is a personal brand for? What do you think? What types of people should have, build, manage a personal brand? Well, the answer could be surprising. The truth is, everyone should have a personal brand. And believe it or not, you already do. A personal brand is for everyone. Whether you like it or not, you already have a brand, and that's called your reputation. So the question is not if you should have a personal brand. The question is, are you going to manage your personal brand or not? So there are two places where you build and manage your personal brand. One is in person, and the other is online. In person is obvious. Your personal brand is affected through your friends, your coworkers, your network, which I hope that you're building, and everyone you come into contact with. As far as online goes, well, the obvious is also true. It's social media, for example, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. It's blog posts, anywhere that you're creating information and putting it online. It's also online publications. Anytime that your name pops up somewhere online, perhaps someone has written about you, or perhaps someone will in the future. And it's any Google search someone performs on you. Now, don't be surprised. People will Google you at one point or another, especially employers. Why don't you take some time, Google your name online, and see what pops up? Are you satisfied with what you see? And does this represent the person you are or you want to be? Let's take a look at a couple quotes made by successful people and experts in their fields on the topic of personal branding. Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Your personal brand is what differentiates you from others. If you're not branding yourself, you can be sure others will do it for you. And I think we saw this one recently. Personal branding is all about your unique promise of value and what you bring to the table. It's also about getting your potential clients to choose you as the only solution to their problem. Your personal brand serves as your best protection against business factors you can't control. And finally, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. And that's the way you want to approach your personal brand. So to recap, what is personal branding, why do it, and who should have a personal brand? Well, we looked at the definition of personal branding compared to our previous lesson on branding itself. We looked at the reasons why personal branding is a smart thing to do. And we also found out that everyone should have a personal brand, build it, and manage it. And finally, where are personal brands seen? They're both in person and online. So you want to focus on both of those. Don't neglect one or the other. Okay, that wraps it up for this section on personal branding. Let's look forward to the next section, considering your ambitions. So we want to look at the steps to define your personal brand. And there are 3 steps that I want you to follow. Number 1, consider your ambitions. 2, craft a brand statement. And 3, broadcast your brand. So can you guess what we're going to work on in this section? Of course, it's going to be considering your ambitions. And you should already have a sense of your ambitions because of our first lesson, our first core lesson on goal setting. The next thing I'd like you to do before we really begin is get out your worksheet for this particular core lesson. And the title is your personal branding worksheet. Go ahead, push pause, get out that worksheet, and then let's continue. As I just mentioned, you already have an idea about your ambitions because of our first lesson on goals. And if you recall your goal setting worksheet, you should have written down your short-term goals and your long-term goals. Now keep those in mind for a second. As far as considering your ambitions, you already have direction and are already quite aware of your goals. However, I want you to think about how you are perceived by others. How do other people think about you? And I want you to think about how you would like to be perceived and answer this question in doing so. When people think about me, they think about what? So what comes to mind? How do you think people think about you? So let's do another thought experiment. And here we have our time machine again. I want you to imagine 10 years from now, 10 years from today, what do you want to be known for? When somebody hears your name, when somebody thinks about you, what should they associate with your name? What could you be famous for in your circle of friends and your circle of peers? All right, give it a moment, think about it, push pause, write a few notes down. What do you want to be known for in 10 years? Okay, that's not as easy as it sounded, was it? All right, now go to your worksheet, your personal branding worksheet, get it out, and let's go to section number 1 under Consider Your Ambitions. In number 1, I have the same question for you. In 10 years, what do you want to be known for? Can you write that list that you were just now creating? Can you make a few notes, write a few sentences in this box? Now, go ahead and push pause so you can finish this section, and then we'll go on to the next one. So now that you have an idea of what you want to be known for in 10 years, I have a sentence that I want you to try and complete as best possible. Now, my example here is from a man named John, as you can see up here. But we want to make this person actually you instead. So I want you to do this. Let's do another thought experiment. I want you to imagine that you're at a dinner party or you're meeting someone for the first time and someone is introducing you. And while you're being introduced, what would someone say while introducing you to another person? How would someone introduce you to this other person? Now, the example up here, as you can see, is like saying, hello, this is John. He is known for something. He has accomplished something. If you want to talk about something, then you want to talk to him. So imagining that this is now not John, but you instead. How would someone introduce you to another person? What are you known for? What have you accomplished in 10 years? What do you specialize in? So if someone wants to talk to you about a certain topic, then you're that go-to person that they want to get information from. We have these 3 blanks. I want you to try to fill those in as best possible. So let's go back to our worksheet, and under number 2, scroll up a little bit. Using some of the answers above, complete the sentence here. Again, this is your name. Put your name here, please. He or she is known for what? He or she has accomplished what? If you want to talk about something specific, your area of expertise, then you want to talk to him or her. So you have 4 areas I want you to fill in. The first one's super easy, right? It's just your name. But the next 3 take possibly a little thinking. Go ahead and push pause now and try to complete this section as best possible. But don't think too hard about it. You can always come back and change it later. Actually, you probably will change it more than once as time progresses. Fantastic. Now you have a clearer idea of your ambitions, especially 10 years from now. So to recap what we've talked about, I asked you, how do you think others perceive you at the moment? And then we talked about, how do you want to be perceived? How do you want, or what do you want to be known for in 10 years? And finally, what would someone else say about you when introducing you to another person? Okay, so that was part 1, considering your ambitions. Let's get ready for part 2, crafting a brand statement. Now that you've considered your ambitions, we want to move to the next step and take a look at building a brand statement. Now, our previous lesson was more geared on what other people will say about you. This particular section is more about what you say about you. Your personal branding statement will be unique to you, and if written correctly, it will clearly describe what you do and who you serve. So try to identify 3 areas that make you unique, and here they are. Number 1, your natural talents. Natural talents may be things like being social and well-liked, being able to solve problems, being resourceful, being detailed, and the strengths you have that are found on your strengths test, something I'll show you in just a second. Number 2 are your acquired skills. Your acquired skills are the things you've learned and studied to get better at. These things you might put on your resume, perhaps. Things like computer skills, programming, different languages, management, design, and any certifications. And third are your personal passions. Your personal passions include the things that interest you, as you might expect. What do you like to talk about? What do you like to read about, to listen to? What do you do for fun? Now, just a second ago, regarding your natural talents, I mentioned something called the strengths test. If you want to know more about your strengths, I suggest going to this website. It's www.viacharacter.org, and you can do something special here. If you go under character strengths, and then you scroll down toward the bottom, you can take their free survey. Now, this Institute on Character offers a free survey to help you identify your top strengths. All you need to do is register and then on your way. So I really suggest you take the time and fill out the survey so you get a better understanding of your strengths. Now, this is my test results on strengths, and it gave me an idea of what my top strengths are and maybe some that I could work on. So give it a shot. It'll help you fill out your natural talents area. So considering these 3 areas, your natural talents, your acquired skills, and your personal passions, I want you to get out that personal branding worksheet and fill out these 3 sections. Now, those 3 sections are right here under Craft a Brand Statement. Now, I'd like you to take some time, list some of your natural talents. Now, once again, if you fill out that online survey, it can help you fill in this particular area. Then go over here to number 2, list any skills that you currently have and any skills that you're currently working on obtaining. Put them all down here. And then in number 3, list a few of your interests and passions. Once again, these are things that you do for fun, things that interest you. So go ahead and push pause, fill out these 3 sections, take the survey if you can, and then we'll continue. Great. Now you have a clear idea of your natural talents, acquired skills, and personal passions. From these talents, skills, and passions, what kind of person are you now, or do you hope to be? Try to bring some of these pieces together to make one or two sentences that show your uniqueness and what you do or hope to do. Your personal brand statement is basically a catchphrase that says something about your expertise and what makes you unique. It gives people a quick glance into what you can do so they'll be able to understand how you can be of benefit to them at some point. And if catchy enough, that's how people are going to recognize and remember you. Does it seem difficult? Well, don't worry if this seems hard. It'll take a while to get it to feel right. You can always change it later. Actually, you may change it several times as time goes by to get it right. So now we want to write that in your worksheet under number 4. So scroll down to here, number 4. Using the answers in the above 3 sections, what information can you use to complete the following personal branding statement? I use my natural ability to something something and my skills in something something to help others something something in the whatever industry you're in or plan to be in. It's the same statement you just saw. So take a little bit of time, fill that out to the best of your ability, press pause, and then we'll continue. This all blends together to become the unique you that you share with the world and what you build as your reputation and personal brand. Remember to be true to who you are, though. Don't make an effort to be what you think others want to hear. If you do that, then you're trying to be someone you aren't, and that really won't work out for you in the long run. It's going to be the real you who people come to like and trust, and that is your unique personality. Congratulations, you now have a personal brand statement. So in order to come up with that particular statement, let's recap what we did. We took a look at your natural talents, and I asked you to go to the strengths test online, the VIA Character Institute. Then you looked at your acquired skills, the skills you have now and the ones that you're probably working on. And then the last section to that would be your personal passions. What do you like? What are your interests? And from there, you created your personal branding statement. Good job. The next thing we want to do is broadcast your brand. And that's the next section, and we'll get there in a second. Fantastic. Now you know what you want to say about yourself. You've crafted your brand statement. The next thing we want to do is broadcast that statement both offline and online. Now you want to consistently communicate this to others. And if you continue to do so, over time people will associate you with your brand. You'll become considered a thought leader in your field. It does take some time, but it's well worth it. This can be a huge advantage over others when you're looking for a job or trying to generate business of some kind. Therefore, practice talking about your brand with your friends, classmates, and professors. Talk to everyone about interesting topics in your field or industry. The more you talk, the more you potentially learn and connect with other like-minded people as well. Continue to build your network, especially with those with similar interests and people who you can help later with your talents and skills. And take a look again at our networking lesson. Use it, build your network, and build your brand at the same time. Let's go back to your personal branding worksheet, the next section on broadcast your brand. We want to fill out the next 2 sections, number 1 and number 2. So here under broadcast your brand, number 1 asks these questions. Have you made an effort to network more? What specifically have you done? Have you joined any clubs or organizations, attended any events, met or contacted people of influence or those that you admire? If so, please explain what you've done, and if not, why haven't you yet? So go ahead, push pause, please fill in this section now. Okay, now let's go to number 2. Number 2 says, list the social networking sites you currently use, SNS like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. Which one do you think would be the best choice for you to start broadcasting your personal brand on? What do you think is the number 1 choice out of however many you currently use? Push pause again, think about it for a moment, and write in your answers. And take your brand and professional interests online into your social media accounts. Choose a platform that you like or use most and stick with it instead of trying to use several SNS platforms at the same time. It's really better to stick with one as opposed to many. Choose one that you can specialize in. So again, what's your favorite SNS site? What I would like to do now is try a quick experiment. You might find this fairly interesting. Go ahead, open up one of your SNS platforms. Open up the one you use most. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe Instagram, who knows. Go ahead, open up one now and take a look at your posts. Take a look at your photos that you've uploaded. Go ahead, do that right now. Push pause. Take a look at the posts you've made recently. What kind of content have you put in those posts? How much are they related to what you want to be known for, huh? Remember that what you post online is what you add to your reputation and your personal brand. Are you comfortable continuing posting as you have been recently, or would you benefit to make a change, a different direction in your post that would better reflect the person that you want to be in 10 years, and content more related to your areas of study and your industry? Are your posts more like this?
Oh my God.
Take another look. Summer is not a month. Or this? These are just jokes, but the point is, keep in mind what you're posting. Remember, this is a direct reflection on your reputation. Instead of these posts, maybe you want something closer like this. Look at the bottom headline. Choi wins Distinguished Teaching Award. There's something positive and possibly valuable information to someone in your industry regarding this post. Posts like these add to your reputation and personal brand in a positive way as well. So let's go to number 3 on your worksheet. Number 3 asks these 2 questions. What content could you post on these sites that would create value for other members? And what could you educate others about? Take a moment, push pause, and think, how can you best answer these questions about yourself? So, what is a good idea to post? Start with anything that will educate others. Be an educator. That is a simple and great way to help others. That's how you create value. Sharing knowledge is a fantastic way to build a reputation where others start to see you as an expert in a particular area. And try to be as specific as possible in your field. Don't try to educate people generally. That won't set you apart from others, and most people will not be interested. Instead, educate others about specifics in your field or industry. Here are 3 pretty good examples of someone named Gary Vaynerchuk, also known as Gary V. He's all over social media and he's killing it. He's doing a fantastic job. He posts things that are valuable to people in these social media sites. Things like the 4 people every startup needs, or why nice guys finish last is not true. This is a Facebook example. Something on LinkedIn, he's posted these 3 things that may be of value to several people, more geared toward the LinkedIn community. And Instagram posts that are more geared to people on the Instagram community. Nonetheless, make your posts educational and valuable. And are there any lessons that you've learned in this online class that can be tied to your field or industry, or that can help people be more successful in that field or industry? If so, use these topics to start with. After all, you've just recently learned them. Now, here's some important things to do to make sure you're doing things right on social media. Number 1, clean up your posts. Delete any photos that are in bad taste, especially any photos that involve alcohol. Make sure you look professional. Remove any posts that use bad or offensive language. We don't want to offend anyone. Remove politically opinionated posts, unless these may be required for your industry. But typically, politics should not be in your industry. These things tend to offend people more so than bringing them together. You want to build relationships, not burn bridges. Basically, remove anything that may make you look bad when considering the person you want to be in 10 years. Furthermore, optimize your profile or profiles. Make your profile look professional and reflect your field or industry. Choose a professional looking headshot of yourself for your profile photo. And take time to fill in your background and history sections to reflect your goals, talents, skills, and any value you hope to add to others. It's well worth the effort. So let's look at number 4 on your worksheet. Number 4 asks, what specifically do you plan to do in order to clean up your SNS accounts? Make a few notes there, push pause, and then let's wrap up this section. Now, I've mentioned LinkedIn earlier. It's really a great platform to help you network and build your brand and your reputation. So why not? Get a LinkedIn account, optimize it, try to build up to 500 connections, and use it. LinkedIn is great for a few reasons. One, recruiters use LinkedIn. This can help you find a job. Next, LinkedIn sends you news for your specific industry. They can help you stay informed. It's an easy way to stay professionally connected to former classmates and colleagues, more so than Facebook, I'd say. You can follow influencers like Richard Branson and Warren Buffett and learn from the value that they post. And finally, it's free. It's free networking, so why not use it? Now you're on your way to broadcasting your brand both person to person and online. And to recap what we talked about the networking effects that you should be doing. Are you working currently on building your network? I hope so. If not, start. We talked about your social networks. Which ones do you use? And which one do you think is the most important one for you to use specifically? We talked about the right content to post, what you should be posting versus what you shouldn't. We talked about cleaning up your profile and making you look more professional and reflecting more of who you want to be in 10 years. And I said, why not consider LinkedIn? It can be of benefit to you now and potentially the future. Fantastic. We're just about done with this core lesson, the last of all of our core lessons, personal branding. Let's look at our mystery question answered coming up next. So here we are again at the end of one of our core lessons, and this happens to be our 12th and final core lesson. Now let's take a look at the mystery question answered. I asked you to try and name this master of branding and master of personal branding. Once again, let's remember he wasn't from a wealthy family. He didn't do well in school. He actually dropped out at the age of 16. However, he's adventurous, very resourceful, and definitely understands the importance of branding. Not only that, if you recall, one of his flights was canceled to the British Virgin Islands, and he held up a sign saying $39 one way to British Virgin Islands and got a lot of people to go with him, which then led to the beginning of his own airlines. So, were you able to guess who this man was? Well, do you recognize him now? This is none other than the famous Richard Branson. And he once said, and I quote, "Branding is everything. A young girl once came up to me and told me I could be famous because I looked just like Richard Branson." That's pretty funny. That shows you just how famous this man is. Not necessarily for his companies and his success, but his personality, himself. That's true branding power. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, become the teacher. Perhaps help someone create their branding statement, or help someone with their online persona, help someone clean up their social media account and improve their online presence. Great. Now you are on your way to having a better long-term personal brand. Let's get ready to wrap up our entire course with our summary video.